Please join us, celebrate, share, and watch these upcoming videos as we try to spotlight and illuminate some positive people in our community. Thank you for watching these videos from Higher Definition.
My name is Freddie Daniel. I'm from Rock Hill, South Carolina. I went to school at Rock Hill High School. I graduated from Johnson Smith University in Charlotte, North Carolina. Majored in finance. Thought I was going to be sitting on Wall Street somewhere, but didn't quite work out the way I had planned. The name of my business is Faith Installation. Well, doing installs, people always told me, oh, you need to start your own business, you need to start your own business, you're good, you need to start your own business. But I was like, well, I was nervous, I was scared. You know, I was making great money, so why am I gonna leave this good job to start something I'm not sure is gonna work? So one day I went to work, some things happened, and they let me go. So I came home like, man, what I'm gonna do? And somebody was like, why are you worried about it? You already got a business. So at that point, I just put boots to the ground and took off running with the business. The most rewarding part of my job is going out and helping other people. You know, I worked for a big company that was charging crazy amount of money to install TVs. So now I can go in and do the same amount of work or even better and charge somebody a lesser price, lets me know that I'm doing a good job. People are happy, people smile, and even some people I've had even told me, hey, why are you charging that such a little bit to do the work? So that's rewarding to hear people say I do a good job and I should charge more. The name of my business comes from just what it says from faith. It comes from the Lord. Without God, I wouldn't be here. Without God, I wouldn't have a business. So in order to make it, I had to have faith that God's going to take me to where I need to be. So we named the business Faith Installation. The type of jobs I do, I mount TVs, I mount speakers, I mount doorbells, I mount security cameras, we mount soundbars, we run wire, we set up your Wi-Fi. Anything home entertainment related, we can do. Need your furniture assembled, we can do that as well. So we're not limited to what we can do or limited to where we're willing to go. You can reach us by, we have a website, faithinstallations.com. We're also on Thumbtack. We're also on Angelus. You can reach us through Google. You also can give me a call at 706-814-1295 and schedule your appointment. In the next 5 to 10 years, I see multiple trucks on the roads. In the next couple of years, I'm looking at at least have 5 to 10 trucks. Most of the people running those trucks. I'm looking to be the top installer in the company and just keep on growing from there. Any final words I'd like to leave you with is, do whatever you want to do. Pray about and let God guide you. As long as you have strong people behind you, whatever you want to do, God allow you to do it. My inspirational message for the day is going to be on Proverbs 3:5. Trust the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. With a lot of things that's going on in the world today, with a lot of deaths, we always question like, why, what's going on, why is this stuff happening? But one thing we need to do is just go to the Lord. Trust in Him, allow Him to tell you what's going on. Everything happens for a reason and everything happens for a season. So what we need to do is put our faith, our trust in the Lord 100% and allow Him to guide your footsteps. Let Him tell you what's going on and why. You know, we'll go out and ask our people why this, why that. But why not ask God? Just get down your hands and knees and pray and let Him guide you and tell you what's going on. Another inspirational quote I have today is going to be on season. I'm going to teach on seasons. Everything happens for a season. What season are you in depends on what's going on in your life. So what you need to do is go to God and say, God, help me with my season. God will never leave you nor forsake you. So whatever you got going on, go to God. If your job isn't going right or your family isn't doing right, go to God. Allow God to motivate you and encourage you, tell you what to do. You know, too many times we want to call on man and have man help us out. Instead of calling on man, call on God. You know, why are we going to call on the ones that can't create anything instead of calling on the one that created everything? Allow God to motivate you and move you to the direction you need to go and watch everything in your life skyrocket. You know, I'm a living example when you trust in God, how God elevates your life. So just trust in Him and watch Him do it.
God me, oh great Jehovah, pilgrim in this barren land. Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to High Definition Radio. As Pastor Ed asked us, have we been taking communion early? When we were behind the scenes, he say we were on one. That's the heat getting to us, Pastor Ed. Shout out to Marlon Davis. Continue to pray. for you and your family. Continuing to pray and think about you. We miss you here on Higher Definition, and we know you'll be back soon, sir. But we continue to pray. Just want to give a shout out to everyone who follows, watches, and listens to Higher Definition. We're thankful for everyone tuning in. We're definitely in the throes of summer, in the throes of this heat right now. So I want to say be careful. Whatever you're doing out here in these streets, make sure you are well hydrated and not with anything that got fizz, pop, buzzles, or alcohol in it, because that will mess you up in this weather. Minister Fred, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, sir. Doing well. No serious complaints.
Good. I would ask you how business going, but yeah.
Mine, I have to talk about business with a sad face. I don't want to seem excited. I don't want to send mixed messages. I just say that I'm appreciative. And think about little old me.
What's the guy on Everyone Hates Chris?
Mr. Omar.
Mr. Omar. You
tragedy.
Oh man, we gotta laugh a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Abel, how are you, sir? Happy belated birthday, sir.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. I'm in the big 5-0 club, man. Blessed to be here. Oh, y'all on deck, man. You
Yes,
are
sir.
on deck. So
Not me.
don't laugh.
And we're on deck. Miss Tia, how are you, ma'am?
I am doing very well. Blessed. A lot of things going on in the world. All I can say is just blessed to be on the show. Happy to be on with you guys and have a good laugh and be able to smile.
It's tough out in these streets.
Yeah.
Last but not least, Pastor Ed, I know you're doing well, sir. You were getting coached early, so I know you're doing well. Blessed and highly favored. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I just got finished outside cutting down branches, bushes, trees, about passed out there. But what I do for love, right? So now the driveway looks good. Now I got to dispose of all that stuff. So,
Pastor Ed, let me ask you a question, sir.
Is this recorded? Because I know where you're going.
It's 100 degrees out there. You did that on your own, sir, or
She went out there first, so I knew I was being bamboozled. So she went out there, and I'm like, no, I'll do it. And she was like, okay. She did help a little. We didn't stay out there long.
Wow.
It don't take much to fall out. I mean, if you're trying to practice for your sermon on Sundays, let us know, sir. Practicing falling out. Oh man, we want to welcome everyone and thank everyone for watching. It is summertime, and it's that time of year where Matthew 5:37 just comes into play. It's too hot to be doing all this lying. So we're gonna talk about the scripture, and I'm paraphrasing. What it says is, "Let your yeses be yes, your noes be noes. All other things are evil." We seem to forget about that sometimes. We be making up stuff, just be lying to be lying. I'm going to start off with Everett because we carried this conversation. And I'll start off with the point of, man, what point do we just stop lying and it is what it is? Like, what's the worst going to happen? What is this?
Man, that's one of, like, I can understand a lot of sins. That's one of the ones that kind of fly over my head for just out and out lying. But there's some lies I think that come a lot easier to me when it involves sparing folks' feelings, or sometimes I will overestimate what I'm able to do and overcommit sometimes. But whether it be time, I might say, hey, I'm 10 minutes, I'll be there in 10 minutes, but that's the best case scenario. No traffic lights, I leave right away. And sometimes I will over exaggerate my ability sometimes, or even my availability. But that's a lot. Like I am, it should be a simple yes or a no without a whole lot of other stuff included. So when I look at that, it's easy for me to look at what other people do, but I try to always see myself in the scriptures and where I fall short, and that's where I can do the most good is in dealing with myself.
Dr. Houston just brought up the common black folks lie.
Yes.
I'm on my way. You ain't left the house yet. I'm on my way. I'll be there in 10 minutes.
Right around the corner.
I'll be there in a minute.
And I got this thing, man, where like when I do good with time, but when I get in the shower, it seems like time just stop, or speed up, I should say. And I just lose all concept of time when I get in the shower. So,
oh my goodness. I don't even know what to say to this. We got to go to your first cousin, Fred.
Hey, listen, Mark, I know how he can get back on time. If Tanya turned that hot water off, he can be on time. But as I was, when you and I had this brief conversation about the topic, there's something that I started telling, my children this a long time ago. I believe that it's so much simpler just to let it be yes or no. And I'm still working on this too. But I think the problem comes in when we start offering explanations as to why we can or why we can't. I think that's ultimately when the problems happen. For example, like when you hit me up today, hey man, can you do the show? It's just a matter of yes or no. But yeah, I can, and no, I can't. But when we start saying, well, man, I'm telling you what I did, the conversation you and I had. Yeah, man, I can, but man, I do have to go to work. I have this going on. Bro, listen, if it's pressing, if you got too much stuff already booked, just say no. So I know even from a business perspective, when I reach out to the guys and the ladies that work with me, I always ask two questions. Do you want to, and are you available? Like anything outside of that, and I hate to say it doesn't matter because they might be watching, and I care. So if you're watching, I care. But ultimately, for the sake of business, I need to know, first of all, do you want to help, and are you available? And if the answer for either of those is no, I'm cool. But I say this, and I'm going to shut up for the moment. One of the things that I don't like to do is and every time we have relatives that will overextend themselves. And now if they are able to do it, they're frustrated and they're going 100 miles per hour and nobody's enjoying it. So I just think that, when you already have something booked, it's so much easier and you can spare people's feelings by just saying, hey, I would love to, but I can't because I'm already committed to something and leave everything else alone.
No, I appreciate it. And Pastor Ed, as a leader in your home, in church, when we talk about this powerful scripture, I know when I told you what the scripture was, you're like, man, this is one of my favorites. Tell us why this is one of your favorite scriptures.
Well, number one, I'll tell you my biggest pet peeve are the people that go with silence because they're cowards. So when you don't respond because you don't want to say no, that just like really bothers me. Like, be man or woman enough to say, hey, I'm not going to be there. Like, the no response to me is worse than saying it. Like, that insults me because it means you're scared. Because really, that's just a matter of I don't want to say no, or I'm waiting to see if this is more beneficial for me than something else, right? So I'm a big let my yes be a yes and no. I believe promises are for liars, because if you're always about what you say you're going to do, you don't need to promise anything. So to me, a promise is reinforcing a lie usually, because you've lied so many times. Now you got to promise.
Man,
nobody's ever asked me to promise anything. I say yes or no, and that's it. So
that's it. That might preach right there, sir. You might, hey, that might preach. Still, when we talk about Matthew 5:37, let your yeses be yeses, your noes be noes. We can't leave out the other part. All other things are evil. We can't leave that part out. What are your thoughts, ma'am?
You and I have had multiple conversations about this, about people saying they're going to do things and they don't do things. I'm big on, if you tell me you're going to do something, that you follow through and you do it. It's like going to work. If you say you're going to do something, then you do it. If you commit to doing something, do it. If you can't, adhere to the timeline, the deadline, or whatever, let somebody know that you can't do it. Like Pastor Ed is saying, if you don't say anything, it's like it's almost insulting to commit to something and then you don't show up because people were depending on you. People basically invested time into you. And then you turned around and said, well, guess what? I'm not worth your time. That's what it means to me, is that you don't value, one, my time, but you also don't value the fact that I thought enough of you to ask, that I respected you enough to ask, that I valued you enough to ask you, and then you couldn't commit to that. But you were talking about scriptures, and when you sent that to me earlier for the flyer, I was thinking about a message I heard a little bit of today, Ecclesiastes 5, 4-5. And I pulled it up. When you make a vow to God, do not delay to fulfill it. Mm-hmm. He has no pleasure in fools. Fulfill your vow. It is better not to make a vow than to make one and not fulfill it. So I consider that to be the same. So it's better to just keep your mouth shut and just not commit to anything versus committing to something knowing that you have no intentions of doing it. You have no intentions of showing up. You have no intentions of ever following through. You know, so I feel like when people commit to something and they know that they're not ever going to do it, they have no intentions of doing it. One, they lying to themselves, and they just flat out bold-faced lying to me. And then I can't trust anything that you saying or doing.
Hey, can I throw a little wrinkle into it too? We have to be willing to take no for an answer also. A lot of times this come in, and again, we could say that this is a cowardly response, but when I say no, and I know it's going to turn into a full-blown argument, sometimes people might be willing just to tell you what you want to hear, and you that's one of them responses you might be bringing on yourself. Like sometimes you just got to learn how to take no for an answer without a person have to go into their whole life story or give out their whole itinerary for the whole day. They don't owe you all that. They owe you a yes or a no. And so that's a part of it that we don't actually look at. We look at that. So this person lied to me. This person said they would do this. They said they would be here and they weren't here. But how easy are you to say no to?
And Everett, to your point, I just want to say a couple of things about it. Two things. One is, sometimes when you ask someone that they are incapable of doing what you ask them to do. You know that person. You typically have watched them on different platforms. You've seen them out in public. You've seen their history. You've done your research, right? So you know that they are incapable of keeping their word and that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. You either know that personally or you know that from word of mouth. Here's, whatever the case may be, right? And then two, you also need to be able to say no. The person that you're asking, that person needs to get themselves in a position mentally to be able to say no to people. It took me a long time to realize that it's okay to tell people no. It's okay to say no. And to your point, if you can't accept my no, it took me a long time to get this too. That's your problem, not mine, because I told you and I gave you the honest, truthful answer. You just didn't want it because it was easier for you to get with me. I told you no. I was honest with you.
Go ahead, Craig.
Well, and Tia, just want to piggyback off of something you said. Well, respond to Everett and even to piggyback. When you start talking about people wanting to argue back and forth, like I don't argue with anyone about what I'm going to do or what I'm not going to do. Like if you ask me and I say I can't do it, that's it. And I also share with people about being a business owner. I have a lot of money invested into the business that we're running. And so when people ask me about doing certain things, I tell people up front, hey, I'm good. Count me in. However, and I tell folks that I ride bikes with, when the phone rings, I'm out. Even like if it's as it relates to working with other funeral homes, hey, count me in. I'm going to help you. but I let people know my number one priority is my business, not your business. Even like Tia, to your point, the thing that I think so much about, and one reason why I don't give people all of the extra stuff. Let's say, for instance, if Lamont asked me about, hey, Fred, can you come through Saturday at 12? And I'm like, well, dang, Lamont, I got this thing going on at 9, and I got this thing going on at this time on. People will find a way for you to still make their thing, even if it means it just absolutely inconveniences you. And I'm not saying that it's not good to support people. I'm not saying that that we should not make sacrifices, but sometimes with our very best of intentions, we just overbook ourselves when instead of making Lamont's thing on Saturday, man, we just might go grab some lunch somewhere else, or we might have to do something else to spend some time and just be okay with that. But I just can't stress myself out, and I don't think it's wise for any of us to stress ourselves out by overextending ourselves and make whatever thing we've been invited to a horrible experience for everyone.
And Pastor Ed, I'll ask you, Fred brings up a good point, Tia brings up a good point. It's based off Everett saying sometimes we have to accept people's no as the answer. But some people give you these weak no's that might sound like a maybe. It could be a yes. It could be, let me check real quick. How do you deal with that?
So it's like spades, right? Maybes aren't books. If someone tells me maybe, that means no. I take every maybe as a no.
Yeah.
I need a yes. It's either yes or no. Maybe goes with no's because I can't bank on a possible book, right? Like I need actual books. And I think sometimes we get ourselves in these situations. The church was split because of Paul and Barnabas, right? Paul and Barnabas one trusted John Mark and one didn't, right? And literally they split over that thing. They split over him because that was a relative, right? And that's what happens. Kinfolk get involved, and all of a sudden now you don't talk to your friend because, and I'm probably more Paul than Barnabas, to be honest. I if you burn me 1 or 2 times, I'm probably not the guy to give you a 5th chance, a 6th chance. And I don't beg people. So that's pride that I'm working with. So ultimately, if I have to beg you to do it, or if you're giving me excuses, my response will usually be when people start with excuses, okay. And then they'll keep going. And I'm like, I won't respond again because I don't need to know the why. Like, if you're not able to help me, I need to find someone who is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I hate to be harsh on that, but we just don't have the time to dance around and make you feel good about the fact that you probably could have committed and didn't. So I'm not going to make you feel good. Hey, I'm not coming to church, blah, blah, blah. This happened, that happened. Okay. Well, let me tell you what. No, that's okay. It doesn't matter because at that point, there's nothing we can do about it. Later on, we can talk about it. But I'm with Tia. Like, I don't ask a whole lot of people a lot of stuff, which ends up me doing a lot. But I don't want to be stuck. The people that say yes, they say yes. I asked Fred to do stuff, and Fred says just what he's telling. He'll say, hey, I'm going to have a men's thing. He'll be like, right now it looks good. But, he's telling me, like, if the funeral home calls, I got to go. And I respect that. That's how you make plans, and I think we just need more of that. Pastor Chris, he actually taught me a long time ago. I'm sure he taught you, Fred, like, he never gives an answer right then. Like, if you say, hey, I need you to come to this, he'll say, let me get right back to you. He won't commit to anything on the spot because ultimately he has to check with his wife. He has to check with the church. He has to check to make sure before he overbooks himself. And I think that's wise too.
Yeah.
And let me say this, and as we're talking about the scripture, Matthew 5:37, let your yeses be yes, your noes be noes. And I want to stress the last part. All other things are evil. And there are people, especially, and I want to park on the church for a minute, in the church realm, whether you see people out in the streets that you ain't saw at the church in a while, and they doing a whole bunch of tap dancing, like, nah, that ain't our conversation. I'm concerned about you. No, I'm coming back to church. I'll be there, blah, blah, blah. Everett, let me ask you, how do we calm those people there? Because now I feel like I enforce you into it. Not that I force you into a lie, but you feel like you got to lie to me just because you ran into me and I ain't saw you at church. I'm checking on you and your family, or if I'm making a phone call. And the first thing you haul out, man, I'm going to be at church next Sunday. Just to soothe what you think is soothing me, but it's really creating more anguish. How do we deal with that murkiness?
So you saying you run into somebody and you having a conversation with them and they go into defense mode about not being at church?
Correct. They saying I'm gonna be there next week.
Man, I mean, look, you can't stop nobody from lying. If they want to tell you a lie, they're gonna tell it. But what I try to do in general is just try to switch the focus on you. Like I'm just asking about you. Like what you decide to do on your Sunday, that's another conversation. But I ain't seen you in a while. Like how you doing? How your kids doing? How's work going? And one thing I think you good at that I'm trying to be better at is actually maintaining relationships with people to where you can have difficult conversations. And so if I haven't seen you in 10 months, like part of that is on me if I'm your friend. And I'll give you a lot of credit for that. Like you don't let a whole lot of time go by without getting in contact and with the person that somebody you friends with. And I'm really slack on that. And so like that's one of the things that also like if we're really friends, if we really care about people, then you'll keep establishing that friendship, and that'll allow you to have some difficult conversations.
That's it. It got to be tough for you to run into folks in these streets. I'm sure it's tough for you, sir, because they probably already on the defensive. How do you put people at ease so they don't? I'm not saying you forcing them to lie to you, but so they don't feel like they have to lie.
I mean, I focus on the person, right? You don't focus on the behavior. Like so when I'm serving people, I talk to people, right? And I'm listening and I'm praying. But ultimately, if someone's conscience is drawing them, they're gonna confess to something without you asking. Like they'll come out and be like, "Yeah, I was gonna come to church." I'm like, man, like that stuff to me, it's just a time thief. And I find that the older I get, the less time I have to dance around with people with rhetoric. I would rather just be honest. Tell me, you know what? I didn't come to church because I was tired. I didn't come to church because I was bored. I didn't come to church because I stayed up all night. Like I didn't come to church because there's a game on I wanted to watch. Like I'm okay with all of those things. That's human nature, and even God knew what Adam did when he said, why are you hiding? He wasn't looking for the answer. He was looking to see if Adam was accountable. And I think that lying is just a lack of accountability. That's what it comes down to, is we don't want to be accountable for our actions. We want to look one way but not have any accountability, right? So, I mean, that's human nature. That's why every politician blames the other side. There's nobody saying this is what I can do. It's always, well, let me tell you what Everett can't do, because there's no accountability. If I point the finger at Everett, now I'm putting him on blast and I'm okay, right? So the focus goes away from me. And I think a lot of people, that's kind of where we are in this world, is just, I want to look good, but I really don't want to put in the work to look good, right? I'd rather I want to have a spiritual Ozempic, right? I want to get a shot and lose a bunch of weight versus doing what needs to be done to get where I need to go.
No, and that's deep, Fred. I was just thinking about that. Like I try to reach out to multiple people and ask them if they went to church today. Not that they belong to Union Baptist Church, but that's usually one of my conversations, because church is such an important part of my life. I'm asking you if you went to church today, not in judgment, but I'm amazed how many people feel like they have to be on the defensive on that question. And I'm not saying the church is the end all be all, but I'm asking because I'm concerned about your salvation, your well-being. Fred, so how do we disarm on that conversation so people don't feel like they got to give you a lie or give you a 10-minute explanation?
Well, I was sitting there thinking about that. My mom would, and I always talk about relatives. My mom would always talk about, don't ask certain person, don't ask this particular person a question because you're going to force them to lie. So I think that ultimately we have to, let's say, for instance, we're out at Walmart, we're out at whatever shopping center, and we see this person. How do we think through what we're going to ask where we don't ask that question that will provoke them to tell a lie? I think maybe Everett or someone would say, like, how are you doing? Or, instead of asking the question, hey, did you go to church somewhere? Hey man, where'd you worship today? Did you worship online or yada, yada, yada? I'm like most of you. I would rather, my preference is to be inside the building with saints, being able to, to interact and things of that nature. Periodically, there are circumstances that come about where I have to worship online, and that's just not my thing. That's just not my cup of tea. But again, when we know people and when we know people from a more intimate area, I think maybe we need to consider how we ask what we ask. How do we ask them how you're doing without making it seem as if, how you are doing is attached to that church building? I tell folks on a consistent basis, I believe in the church. Like Pastor Chris said, I believe in the system of the church, the institution of the church. I believe that our life is better because of the church. But I also believe that all because I walk through the doors of the church, that doesn't make me a believer. So again, asking people why have they not been in church is important. But I think we also need to, ask the questions about their relationship with Christ and what are they doing to build that relationship with Christ and other believers.
Tia, how do you disarm folks so you don't? And I hate to force them into a lie, because you ain't forcing nobody anything. That's how they wired in their defense mechanism. But the church folks don't feel defensive about church. Like, people gonna miss Sundays. Like, it's a whole life and world going on out here. People gonna miss that. How do you make people feel comfortable so they don't violate Matthew 5:37?
Well, I think it's not me making them feel uncomfortable. I don't think it has anything to do with me making them feel that way. I think there's a certain level of guilt that they feel themselves for not going or not being there. I don't think if I'm approaching someone and I'm asking them, hey, did you go to church today? They might feel that guilt, but I don't think I'm putting that guilt onto them, right? Maybe they just feel that pressure because they've been asked so many times, or maybe they have been feeling like, I need to get back into church. I need to go to church. I need to be closer to God. I need to get back in and do these things. And then they haven't got around to it. They haven't been doing it. So when you ask the question, it's like Pastor Ed said, it's making them be accountable to what they were making the decisions to do, but they just haven't acted on that decision, right? And so then they feel this guilt and this shame that Dr. Houston is talking about, that, well, I wanted to go back to church, but I was, I was feeling, left out, or I was feeling like I was going to hurt myself, or I was feeling like something was wrong and I just didn't get around to it. Or for the mere fact, I just didn't want to go. Sometimes it's not us that's making the people feel that way. Sometimes they are feeling that way because of personal things and mental things that they're struggling with on their own that forces them to lie. A lie is easier for them to deal with than to tell you the truth. I don't want you to know that I didn't come to church today because if I had come, I would have been without my husband who left me for this other lady, and me and the kids is at home, and I don't want to show up at church and be a basket case because people going to be asking me, oh, baby, well, where your husband at? And then you got to get into this whole thing. Or I don't want to show up at church today and somebody ask me, well, baby, you okay? And you just bust out the tears. And, well, no, I thought about killing myself last night.
Let me give a scenario. I just want to see how people handle it. Some people will invite you to 1,000 events, but won't support one event that you have or one thing that you ask. How do you deal with that head on free head? What do you tell a person that invited you to the 1,000th event and they don't support not one thing you're doing? How do you deal with that?
Man, I really feel like you're throwing shade at me, man. I feel offended.
Please.
No, Lamont, I really don't know. I'm a piggyback off of something that Pastor Ed said earlier in the show. I'm the type of guy that, and I hope it don't seem like I'm skirting away. I'm going to ask you once. I'm going to ask you maybe twice. And if I just see that, your life is just too busy, I'm probably not going to keep asking you. I'll move on. And of course, as much as I enjoy the support of others, but I also realize that if I want people to support me and what I'm doing, then I need to also be there to support others as well. So the long short of it is, if I've asked you once, if I've asked you twice, I'm just not that type of guy that's gonna be begging anybody. Like it's obvious what I have going on, or maybe, and again, I don't take offense to it. We might be cool, but what I have going on, this might not necessarily be your thing, and I'm okay with that. The statement I was about to make earlier, I'm kind of like Pastor Ed on this. I'm the type of guy that if I can do it myself, and it's good to have support, if I can do it myself, I would rather do it myself and get it done without having to have 20 people standing around watching me.
No, and I'll say this: Everett is an advocate, because we'll talk about different guests, different people, and he'll say, "Man, I take no answer as a no on the first time." And there's the same thing with me. Like, there are people that I will never invite back to Higher Definition Radio out of principle. Like, nah, you done burnt me enough times, I'm good. But in the same token, don't ask me to do anything for you either. And I know that sounds a little cruel, but there are some people who only have how they're feeling, how they are in mind the entire time, and have no regard for anything or any systematic approach to anybody else's thing. Everett, how you deal with that? Because you are very clear with me. Like, man, nah, I sent them a message, I ain't heard nothing. That's a no to me. Let's move on. Everett say that in a minute to me.
Yeah, but go back to what I said earlier, man. Like, you gotta make it. You gotta be a person that's easy to say no to, and that might be inconvenient. But at the same time, it's well, I should say temporarily it should be inconvenient, but long term, like, it just make your life a lot better if a person could just say no to you. What you were talking about earlier about you inviting people to events and they never come to your events. They always come to yours. But I guess luckily I'm not the type of person who get invited to a lot of events, so I don't usually have that problem. But I think people be having too many events, man. It's like something going on every week, man. I live almost an hour away, so I gotta kind of be strategic about like where I am and in the time I spend doing things. But we gotta resist the we gotta resist the urge to be petty though too. And we got to be able to extend grace. Like, if this is something that I want to be a part of and want to support, and I have the ability to be a part of and support it, then I got to be a part of it and support it and start work. Because at the end of the day, it ain't about me. You know what I'm saying? My event. It's about the greater cause. So. Not saying that to anybody in particular, but just in general, like, we gotta resist that urge to be petty, and it's a strong urge, but we gotta resist it.
No, it's a strong urge, Everett. Just like I'm giving out the scripture of Matthew 5:37. If anybody finds a scripture about pettiness, let me know. Because Apostle Paul didn't talk about that, I think the people who are petty might be free and clear, Everett. I don't know now. They might be free and clear because
they can rest easy at night.
They can rest easy with.
No, let me go back. We can rest easy at night.
Pastor Ed, then I'll go to Tia. Thoughts on, like, people feel like they have to. You have events at your church, and you have things, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I'm sure you get far more requests to do things for others than people who support you in your own events. How do you have a conversation without lying to people about your real intentions?
Yeah, I mean, I don't commit to a lot of events. Like, I'm not the traveling preacher that goes from church to church speaking at every church, because to me, equality is better than quantity for me. I want to be able, whoever I commit to, I want to be able to give everything to, right? So if I'm on Higher Definition, I want it to be all in, right? I don't want to be like looking somewhere else, reading my notes, reading, watching a game or whatever. I want to be all in. So that's just my personality. So I don't really commit to as many things because I feel like that's the problem with most people. And I see all the comments and, people are like, oh, people aren't coming to church because of this reason. Let's be real. People aren't coming to church because they don't see the value in coming to church. That's 99% of people. It's all about the value because you'll go to work, you'll do anything else. So it's up to us to show the value. But the problem is we can't show the value by forcing people, right? I can't show you the value in my event. I have to find people that are bought into the event and then show the work, right? And show the results. So I think, as churches continue to add more ministries and more auxiliaries, and they've got 78 different half ministries going on, instead of focusing on one thing you're good at and being Chick-fil-A, right? There's a reason that a chicken sandwich outsells everything else. It's a chicken sandwich, and you got lines around the building because they focus on a chicken sandwich and the experience of that chicken sandwich. And I think if we would get people out of 10,000 different things going on in the church all the time and staying busy, we're not productive in the church. We're just busy. We want everyone to know how busy we are, but we're not productive.
That is deep, Pastor Ed. Till the overcommitment or undercommitment with others. Like, one thing I can't stand is people just be committing to stuff that have no intentions, zero intentions of fulfilling anything. How do we have that conversation with people? Every time about we got to stop being reciprocal and then being petty. I don't know if that's what the scripture says, but I'm going to do that effort.
A couple of things. When people ask you to do stuff or come and speak or do stuff for them, one thing I noticed, and I said this to you earlier, Mont, is that people ask you to do stuff to support their purpose, right? To support something that they're doing. Not all the time does that fit into your own purpose yourself. Not all the time. Like Fred was saying earlier, when he get that call, Fred got to go because that's his purpose. That is his business. So not all the time should you be saying yes to things that do not fit into your purpose, do not fit into where you need to be at that particular time, right? But what you're asking, and I put up a comment, I treat these situations a lot like when you ask your family over and over, there's certain family members, you ask them over and over and over again to either do things, or you ask them year after year, you plan a trip, you're going on vacation. They always the people that will say, yes, they are going. Yeah, we're going to do it. Just put everything together and let me know. Just let me know. Just let me know. And then you let them know. You either don't hear anything or you hear something and it's, yeah, I ain't got that kind of money. Well, here's the part where you got to take out all the petty. You knew when you asked that they wasn't going to do it because you've been asking year after year after year. So you've consistently been asking, consistently getting the same answer. You're just not accepting that answer for what it is. You're not being accepting of what they told you. You trying to force something else. They already told you 3 years before that they wasn't going, whether it's personal or not personal. I was saying a couple Sundays ago in the morning inspiration, being committed to doing something, when you going through stuff, you always want people to be there for you. You always want them to show up for you. Well, human nature says if people don't show up for you the way you show up for them, I ain't showing up. The next time they going through, the next time they doing something, I ain't going to show up for them. Well, see, that happens with families just as well as it happens at the church, where you didn't come to my grandma's funeral, so your mama died. I ain't going to show up to your funeral. I ain't gonna show up for that. That's the kind of petty stuff that go on. You can't be depending or waiting on people to commit to stuff and say they gonna do stuff when you yourself haven't been the best person at being committed and faithful your own self. We expect people to give us the same level or better. No, we expect people to give us better treatment than we have given them. See, that's where we making a mistake at. No one is going to treat you better than you are doing your own self. We expect people to show up all the time to everything that we have, but we don't want to show up to support nobody. We don't want to be committed to support nobody. We don't want to be consistent and faithful in supporting anybody. There has to be the same level of commitment, faithfulness, patience, and consistency on your part to do somebody else's stuff. But just be honest. When you can't do it, just say you can't do it so people aren't depending on you. If you can't go on the family trip, guess what? Just say that. I'm okay that you can't go. I knew you was broke before this. When I asked you, I knew you wasn't going to be able to go. You know, I knew all these things, and it's not being petty, and it's not taking it personal. Sometimes you got to take stuff for what it is. They can't do it. They can't make it. Stop asking.
Wait, and Tia, let me ask you this. Like, how much does that come down to, like, relationship wise? Like, why are we asking people, Mon, I'm asking your question, why are we continuing to ask people to do something for us or to do something with us when we already know that they're incapable of doing it?
We looking for a reason to be petty, Fred. Just this simple. You're looking for reasons to get upset. But then when you don't ask them, what happens? They're upset. Well, you didn't ask me to go. You asked Sheila. You asked John. You asked Paul. They never asked me. I never got the invite. Well, why do I have to keep sending you the invite for your answer to be no? I filled that space with someone else, a yes or a potential. See, people are so petty, and people, somebody just put something up about their feelings being hurt. People will hurt their own feelings. They want to be included in something that they have no place in. They shouldn't have been a part of it in the first place, but we pushed and pushed and pushed and begged, as we were talking about earlier. We begged them to be a part of something that they didn't want to be. Begged people to be a part of family reunions. We begged people to be a part of events at the church and things like that, when we know that they do not want to be there, they don't get along with certain people. And then when they show up and there's chaos and there's confusion, we wondering what happened. We wondering why. You should have left it alone and just took heed to it.
Let me ask you, so why do we feel obligated to, why is reciprocity a part of the process? Like, why can't I, like, why is that always the go-to? If I do something for you out of a place of genuine, because out of genuine sincerity or whatever it is, why do I feel like you have to do the same for me? And my reason for thinking about it, like, we're in revival season right now. I remember as a kid growing up, if your church came and gave $25, when it's our time to come to your church, we give you the same songs, we've heard the same preachers, and nobody has grown out of the process. And I'm just using that as an example. So as we talk about here, if I invite someone to something, my heart should be that I believe that their life would be better if they came. I shouldn't be in my feelings because they did.
No, I'm sorry, Fred.
Oh, I'm gonna say this. I had a gentleman ask me about coming to his church to preach a revival, and as we were talking about it, he said, "Well, how many people do you think, brother? Don't even worry about it. I'm good."
Fred, I'll say this to answer your question. Some of it's tradition. Is what we saw. If I do something for you, you do something for me, we're good. I will say personally, as a great friend of people, if you ask me for something, I will go to the ends of the earth to try to do that for you. I will try to make sure, even without you asking me, that I am being a good friend. Sometimes I might be in need. Well, I need the same pick me up or whatever. And I'm gonna say this, and I went to 2 different churches today. I went to my own church, and I left halfway through because I've been helping their technical system up. And I was there yesterday helping them, and I was so convicted, like, man, I got to go back to make sure they're operating fine. Like, I can't be sitting here in my church that I call home now, and my home church is without, and I'm halfway through it. But if you selling books, cookies, pies, I'm there for you. I might be asking you when the next time y'all doing these things. I try not to expect the same things out of others, but I do expect something at some point that, hey, at least you acknowledge that I am a friend of you, and that's just Lamont's take, on this world. I get on Everett's nerves all the time. I'm aggravating him because sometimes I worry about him. I'm like, nah, man, like I get you don't want to talk about it, but I'm still gonna talk about it. And we fuss like we two old ladies, but that's me being a friend. Everett, hey man, I'm about to go off on somebody. What do you think? And when he said, it's another side to that, let's not do it that way, I know that's the way he can be the best friend ever. He might be saving me from some doom and gloom somewhere. And I don't, let me say this in the friend circle. We can't be friends if you feel like you got a lot of me. Like, that ain't even a thing. Pastor Ed, let me ask you this. In your friend circles, is it okay to lie to each other?
I don't have a good enough memory to be a liar, right? That's my problem. Like, it's too much work, right? That's why I don't have a lot of friends. It's just too much work, and it's I respect the person on the front end that says no, because I know that same person, when they say yes, they're all in, right? But they're not going to give you half a commitment, so they'll say no. And I just think, I don't know. I love all these comments everyone's making. I think they're really good comments to get the underlying issues and to hear people's heart and not to have expectations for people. But it's human nature also. It's human nature. Yeah, I do. Right? I do. If you've called me 25 times to complain and you go to another church, but I seem to be your pastor, like every time you're calling me and I'm like, no, go to your pastor, but you call me because you can't go to your pastor, but then you say you're a member of that church. Those are the situations, God bless you, but you need to go to your pastor. And I know that might sound harsh, but I'm like, you can't shack up with me and be married to someone else. So I just think we have to have boundaries. We've known each other a long time, and what I like is that we're honest, and you don't have to. The formality just takes too long. It's nice to just be able to go in with someone and be like, "What's wrong with you?" When you have close friends, you should be able to do that, right? It shouldn't be like just the formality of things. Is just it's exhausting to me, and that's why churches are not growing, because we dance around the real issue. They're not coming anyway. So, like, I guess maybe I'm too direct, and I need to be a little bit more gentle with folks. But I felt that my gentle approach just wasted time. So now I'm trying to be a little more purposeful in what I say and who I say it to, and I don't waste my time arguing with the same people over and over. I find other people, and you find other people to share the cause with. I'll do anything for Lamont, because every time I've asked Lamont to do anything for me, he's always said yes or no quickly. So to me, that's all I ask. And he tells good to go.
Everett doesn't think so.
Oh, boy, that's a stretch. That's a stretch.
Is it okay for friends to
lie to each other? No. I think we gotta have better relationships with that. I think the perfect relationship is a Ray and Claude type relationship, where you can be brutally honest with one another and tell folks some uncomfortable truths. Like, that's when you know you have a real friend. And but when you can't be honest with your friend, that means you don't trust your relationship, and that's something that we have to work on. So I really appreciate everybody on here, different levels of it. I remember when I first was introduced to Pastor Ed, I was like, man, this guy's so smart, easy to talk to, and I'm whatever. I'm texting, maybe asking. I was like, man, I'm gonna have to fall back because I keep it up. I'm gonna have to start tithing this dude. he got a church, and I'm not one of his members. So, but I appreciate the different levels of relationships that I have with folks. Me and Fred, we go back to the crib, not to the house, but to the baby crib. Like we was, you know what I mean? Like we like a month and a half apart, and we've been knowing each other our whole lives. Me and Lamont, we served in the military together, played football together. Been friends throughout. I met Tia through Lamont, and Pastor Ed through Fred. And again, we just have different levels of relationship. They're one of the things I do or try not to do is like I don't ask a whole lot of people for too much. And so I got a handful of people that I might ask for stuff because I know I'm gonna either get a quick no or it's gonna happen. As one individual I think of who I will never, well, I shouldn't say never, but I try not to ever ask anything of, and that's my young cousin, Fred's brother, because I tell him like, man, if I ask you, it's an inconvenience for you or not. And for a person like that who will go above and beyond for strangers, and I don't want to be an extra burden to that person. So we just got to know our friends. We got to try not to take advantage. That's another thing. Like if you somebody who's always taking advantage of then you probably gonna end up hearing no more often than you want. So we can't just look at this all one-sided based on how people are doing us. We got to see what we're doing to people also.
Go ahead, Tia.
So I was just listening to what everybody was saying and just thinking. So going through divorce taught me a lot, right? So in going through a divorce, you find out, one, who friends are not. It's like my grandma used to always say, you know who your real friends are when somebody get married and somebody die. You find out who in your corner and who's not in your corner. They're going to show up for you, right? Do I think it's okay to lie to friends? No, I don't think it's okay to lie to friends. And going through a divorce and feeling that way, I have found it is best to be brutally honest with people that you consider to be friends, that you value and you respect. I take that to a whole nother level and find that to be like that is a rare quality in people, that they can be brutally honest with you about how they feel. If you're a coward and you can't tell me how you feel about something I said to you, or I didn't show up for something and you just stop talking to me because I didn't show up or I didn't say something, but you never asked why I didn't show up. You never considered why I couldn't be there or any of those types. I couldn't be there. See, sometimes we on the other side can't show up for other people and we can't be there for other people because we're not in a good headspace ourselves. I don't want to show up for anybody when I'm a basket case and I'm in a bad place. Then I'm no good to you and I'm definitely no good to myself. So I don't want to show up and I'm not in a good headspace. But do you ask those questions? No, we just are in the mindset now where we will cut people off and we don't care what their reasons are. We don't care why people don't come to church no more. We don't care why our friends will lie to us about different things. We don't care. We don't want to know the real reasons behind that because we're afraid of what they're going to say. We're afraid that we may have been a part of why they didn't show up. We're afraid that it was something that they did. We don't ask the right questions. It's like Everett said, we got to stop trying to put the blame on other people for not showing up or not being able to, because we haven't been truly honest with ourselves but we also have not put ourselves in a position where folks can be advocating for us. You got to be out here acting the part if you want somebody to be advocating for you. Like Everett was just saying about Pastor Ed, what he thought about him, that he's advocating for this man is intelligent, this man has a good message, this man is this. But Pastor Ed has demonstrated those things to Everett for him to be able to be out there advocate for him. We always want somebody to advocate for us. We always want somebody to do something for us, but then we never ever ask ourselves why they ain't doing it when they're not doing it. Because we haven't given them something to advocate for. You got to be out here acting like a hero if you want somebody to be calling you a hero. You got to be out here acting like Superwoman if you want someone to be treating you like a Superwoman. It's no different than you being on the job. You want the raise, but have you done raise-worthy work? No. Same thing with friendships. If you're not a good friend, you know you're not a good friend, own up to that. Say that. I had people tell me for years, well, I called you and you didn't call me back. No, I didn't call you back. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Then they move on to the next thing. Well, I called you 3 days later. I called you the other day. You still didn't call me back. Or I text you. You didn't text me back. No, I was really busy and I didn't text you back. I'm sorry. I apologize. What didn't you hear? Is there something wrong? Is there something I need to know why you didn't call me back? Yes, sometimes you just don't call people back because you just don't feel like talking. But is there something else? Is it that I wasn't feeling good? I was in a bad mood and I didn't want to talk to anybody. Why does every single thing have to be so personal to people? Sometimes it's not the person. Sometimes it's us. We don't want to talk. We're in our feelings. We don't feel good. But no one ever asks those questions. No one ever checks on you the way that they want to be checked on. That's why families will fall apart, because somebody will say something and nobody will address what they said. We all know it was wrong, but nobody's going to tell that person that what they did or what they said was wrong. And then they just stop talking.
So Matthew 5:37, paraphrasing again, almost word for word though. Let your yeses be yeses, your no's be no. All other things are evil. And I said and read that on purpose. So is it okay to a mistruth, a lie? You know, maybe you get asked a question. How do I look in this outfit?
That's what I was thinking. I promise you.
Fred, what do we do with that? Scripture say that.
I promise you, man. Like as everybody's talking, I jotting down notes, man. I'm gonna be the guy that's gonna go against the grain. It's recorded, so Pastor Ed, my wife's gonna kill me. I don't care. It was a while ago. She had some situation going on. She was sick, you know, yada yada yada. Then she said, "Man, I look like I've lost some weight." I'm like, "Yeah." So yeah, I lied under that circumstance. You know, yeah, I did lie. But no, she didn't look like she lost any weight.
Fred, you going a little too deep in the story, sir.
Man, listen, we've been together for almost 26 years. And we in it for the long haul. Right? Yeah. Listen, I just, I lied. I told her that she looked like she lost weight.
Straight face when I'm like, you lying? Because I don't even like how this looks.
Yeah.
I know Everett handle these situations a little better. Everett, when you faced with some tough questions from someone you truly love and care about, his weight, how does his outfit look, you think I ate too much right here? Like, what's the appropriate response?
Man, it depends on how much sleep you need, man. Like me, I need my whole 8 hours. So, I mean, y'all saying stuff sound good, but I'm not productive when I don't get no sleep. So,
Ever, you ain't answering the question.
See, if we lifeless, man. See, me and my,
Okay.
And Pastor, we life us, you know.
Yeah, man. So like I said, man, just just make good decisions, man. Think about it, make good decisions. But at the same time, on a serious note, there like sometimes you gotta wait to have a tougher conversation and think about it and choose your words correctly, because you don't want to just answer something just in a moment that's going to hurt somebody or hurt somebody's feelings. Like if I'm walking out the house and I got a big book on the side of my nose, I would like for you to tell me about that. But some deeper, personal issues and things that people might be a little self-conscious about. I know I wouldn't want somebody just, saying something any kind of way to me. And so I wouldn't do that to them. You try. But the thing about relationships, man, it's just like snowflakes, man. Like they ain't all the same. So I can't tell you exactly what to say or how to say what you need to say to your significant other. Like that's something that you gotta fill out, for yourself, and just at the same time, don't just say what's gonna make you feel good. Say what's gonna be productive.
Pastor Ed ever gave a long tap dancing, winding. He needs sleep. He got to get 8 hours.
Yeah, I mean, over time, you learn, you pick your battles, right? Like I don't, as a married man, I lose most battles anyway. So I'm not fighting every battle, because if I'm going to take L's on most of them anyway, I'm going to pick the ones that really matter to me. Right? Because ultimately those are the ones, right? So we talk about lies, and I don't want to bring this up, but on December 25th.
Whoa, you going a little too far.
What do we tell our kids?
Going too far.
We don't tell them the truth.
Preach.
He knows when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. So be good for goodness sake,
that's
right?
Metaphor.
So
that's metaphor.
That's for another issue. I just did that for Lamont, because Lamont life. There are times when it's timing, right? There are times when I don't say anything. I've had to learn that over time, because I'm pretty blunt. So I've had to learn over time. Sometimes the best thing to say is nothing. And sometimes your opinion doesn't matter. Like if no one asks you for your opinion, keep it to yourself. That's what causes a whole lot of damage, right? We give our opinions. If you're not eating something that I'm eating, I don't care if you like it or not. Just don't eat it. And people want to give their opinion on everything, and we do that as couples, right? So if the dress doesn't look good, then you need to tell her the dress doesn't look good, because ultimately someone else is looking at her funny, saying the dress don't look good. So I'm an advocate of that, because my wife in a heartbeat will be like, why you got the...
Well, Pastor Ed, I'm thinking about this. Now, if you have to ask me, you already feel some sort of way about it. Yeah. And I say this, and I'm shut up, so Tia can respond. But like, when my wife or we spend the most time together, she knows just like I know. If she came to me a couple weeks ago, we had a very difficult conversation, and I'm not saying she didn't put any thought into it, because she's very thoughtful, but she knew me well enough to know that regardless of what she said to me, I knew that it was coming from a good place. She didn't try to sit down and map it all out of how she's going to say this to spare my feelings, yada, yada, yada. And when you've been married for almost 30 years, you don't have time to be playing games. It's just best to say what needs to be said and drive on off into the sunset, because at the end of the night, we're not sleeping in a separate bed. I've never slept on the couch, back to back, and we both snored and got up the next morning, just kind of passed. But like, that's just the type of relationship we have. And there are times even when I may say something that might come across as harsh or brutal, but at the end of the day, she knows that where my heart is 100% on her. So I just think sometimes we do ourselves more harm than good. I know for me, if I don't say something within a short period of time, because I'm gonna let my mind keep growing. The small things gonna get bigger, and I'm gonna start analyzing every word. So just let me go ahead and say what needs to be said. We can be mad about it for a couple hours, and we're gonna go get something to eat, and we're gonna call it a day. We move on to something else.
Yeah. Direct conversations with significant others. Do we have them, or do we? What do we do there?
I've been through a divorce, so we better have these conversations. I'm like Pastor Ed on this subject. You need to tell me, because I am what he was saying. Where you going with that on? Yeah, you ain't going nowhere with me with that on. Like, you gotta go change. Like, that don't even go together. What are you doing? Like, I'm gonna tell you, why can't we just tell the truth? Are we afraid that somebody gonna get angry? I mean, but if you get angry, I'm like, Fred, where you going? Where you going? Where are you going? You going in the kitchen? You going in the den? We still going to bed at night. We still, like, where are we going when you get mad? Tell me that when I ask you, hey, does this look good? Tell me if it's ugly on me. And I agree 100% with Fred. Ladies, y'all get mad at me later, man. We already got questions about what we got on if we got to ask somebody. Because most, I ain't asking. You only asking if it look good when you suspect about it.
No. So I got to find and I'll share it to this group. So it was a clip of Yana talking about men, the difference between men and women. That you never attack a man where he's weakest. If you're his, will never recover from that attack from you as his significant other if you attack him where he's weak at. And I had to think about it. That's probably true. There are some things a significant other, a spouse can say to you, and I can only speak as a man, that I'll never forget that you said that to me. It might be 100% true, but I can't forget that you would almost become my enemy. And I'll just ask Fred, I'll start with Fred. Does that make sense, Fred?
It does. It does. But I learned this early on in marriage. I was probably married less than 5 years and I wasn't a super spiritual guy. I was going back and forth about. But I had gotten to the point where I was so mad until I was about to call her out of her name, and I stopped and I just remained silent. I'm just being honest. And for whatever stupid reason, the Lord just would not allow me to open my mouth and say what was on my mind that particular time. And so after a period of time I had gone back, because Kenya's like, she likes to talk through problems. She likes to get it resolved. And my words before I walk that house that protects you, because I can apologize a million times. You can never forget it. And that's just something that I learned. Like, I don't know where I learned that from. And again, it was just called, I guess it was just the Lord working with me that day. But I do agree, even like with us now, when we have our difficult conversations, we don't argue and fuss and fight. We've never yelled and raised our voice. But yeah, if anybody knows how to hit you below the belt, it's your spouse. They can reach out and touch you in places that nobody else can touch, and they know those vulnerable places. And I just think that if a woman, I think that if a woman chooses to go that route, I think that there's just a level of hurt that she has. I think like this: if Kenya goes there with me, I can honestly say that it's probably something that I've done to completely disrespect her or disregard her as my wife. Like, I have just violated all of her trust. I think if she decides to go that level of low with me, I could see me doing it, unfortunately, but I just can't see her doing it without being provoked or extremely hurt.
Yeah, same. I think same thing. We fight too many symptoms, right? Our problem is we never get to the root of issues. We're always reacting to symptoms. So she's got an attitude with you, but why, right? And we don't even ask the why, right? We don't want to know the why, because the why makes us look at ourselves, right? So, there are so many arguments we get in, and it's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. But why don't you want to hear it? Because you kind of know that there's some truth to what's being said, right? So I think that one of the things I'm trying to do better is finding out where the reaction's coming from. Like you said, Lamont, like if you're coming below the belt like that, man, you must really, really be hurt, right? What did I say? What did I do that's getting you this angry? Like, and I'm in a house full of women. So even my daughters, I'm like, everybody thinks you're a mind reader. I'm like, I'm no prophet. I can see it in your mannerisms, but you won't tell me, right? And I think that it's just ultimately I can't help fix where I don't know there's a problem. And I think a lot of times what we're doing with these issues is we're masking the real issue, right? It's not that you didn't want to go out with me to the movies, because the guy says, I think we were in a marriage ministry and talked about it. The woman asked the guy to go to the movies. You want to go see so and so with me? And he said no. So she said, you don't want to hang out with me. He said, no, that's not what I said. You asked me, do I want to go see this movie with you? That's two different things. I would love to hang out with you, but I don't want to go to the movies. You have to know, you have to get a little deeper in this stuff, right? We've got attitude with each other, and now, Brother Jimmy, I hear what you're saying. Jesus was blunt, but you know what Jesus also did? Sometimes he drew circles. And he drew circles because sometimes there didn't warrant a response. When we respond to everything, it's like a bomb. We blow people up and say, well, I'm just keeping it real. But sometimes keeping it real will destroy the other person. And our job, the Bible also says, be ye slow to speak, quick to listen, because the wrath of man, right, doesn't equal the righteousness of God. So we've got to be careful. And I'm just like Brother Jimmy. Brother Jimmy's my boy. I love that dude because
I don't think you should like Jimmy.
But
Hey, I like Dave Chappelle when keeping it real goes wrong.
Let me go to Everett right quick, and then we'll go to our wrap up. Same question, Everett. Are there things, true or not, that can be said that are so detrimental for a man that there is no coming back from that?
It depends on how it's said. That's one of the things I had to work on too. Like when I first got married, I'm in my 40s, so I'm not used to hearing nobody else's opinion about anything, let alone me. So when I'm doing something, I think I put together something that's pretty nice. It's clearly not perfect, but I think there's some value in it. And then I show it to you, and you show me everything that's wrong with it, even things I don't think is wrong. And then now I'm getting into a discussion or argument with you, and I had to get to the point where I had to start trying to convince my wife to be honest with me again, because at first I couldn't see the benefit of it, and knowing like this person not only loves me, but if I'm embarrassed, they embarrassed. So they don't want me to go out looking crazy to make them look bad. You know what I'm saying? So I had to understand and see the value in that, and learn to. And then at the same time, she started to learn how to soften the words a little bit, not be so you ain't gotta curl your mouth up when you don't like it. Just what I'm saying, just talk regular. You know what I mean? I don't need all extra facial expressions either. So.
Maybe you still new to it, man. Don't mess up.
Yeah, okay, you're right. But I'm saying overall, I'm blessed to have somebody that will be honest with me and and check me on things, so that I don't go around looking crazy or crazier. But to your point, like the truth might hurt, but golly, we still gotta hear it and be able to talk about it. But learn how to discuss it in a way that's productive. But some things, man, like for me, you ain't gotta tell me I'm bad. Like I know, you know what I'm saying. Like this ain't no conversation we need to have. So like people want to say things to make themselves feel good, and they're not doing good. So we got to be honest about the purpose of why we're doing something, and before we even try to do it.
No, I want to thank everyone for watching, listening, participating. Great comments tonight. With Jimmy bringing up the rear
Coming in strong.
On his
He's
comment.
coming in strong.
Hey, strong. Pastor Ed is definitely inviting you to Faith Connection to share your testimony.
Absolutely.
Faith Connection. Bypass 95
Come on, Jimmy.
Mill Road Union Baptist Church. we good, man. We good on that. No, Jimmy, know I love him, man. Like, this is a great conversation, great topic. Matthew 5:37. Let your yeses be yeses, your noes be noes. All other things are evil. Fred, any final words, sir?
No, I say no, then I'm gonna start talking. Tim made mention about something earlier, and I was trying to remember her comments. And I wrote here my notes about. This is when we were talking about inviting people to certain things, and she made mention about how and I made a joke with Pastor Chris about this quite some time ago. I was joking, but somewhat serious. I really believe that sometimes the church need to consider doing personality tests because, again, everybody might not be our person, or we could be cool in the church. You might not be the right person you might not necessarily be the right fit for what I'm doing. And so I think that when we're inviting people out to functions or to invite people out to support us in various areas outside of church, we really need to take a look at, not only do I know Everett's name or do I know Pastor Ed's name or Lamont and Tia, but do I know you well enough to know that this is something that you would even enjoy doing? Or am I looking to have numbers and not necessarily people that would benefit from whatever it is I'm hosting or providing? So that's just something I say it jokingly, but I'm somewhat serious. I just don't know how the church could do that to actually do an honest assessment to see if I'm just inviting the masses or am I inviting strategic people that can take the message and go out and actually put it to work.
Fred, you just brought up something, and thank you for that comment as we wrap up. Thank you for coming on. So for the people who watch this from Union Baptist Church, I normally walk around church pretty much the entire time. I normally don't sit down. I'm usually watching, observing, make sure the audio visual, checking doors, the whole nine. Well, today I come back through the main doors and the ushers are standing in front of them. And I got a crazy look like, man, I know what part of the service is. Just let me in. I'm about my business. Just let me in. I'm like, hey, I don't think y'all on the right job today. We might need to do, to Fred's point, I like the way he said, a personality assessment. Do you like people? Are you understanding of people? Because, man, folks that have you mad at the doors trying to get into the church. I'm sorry, that was just me venting a little bit. And Everett just shaking his head. Tia, any final comments?
Yes, Fred, I was talking about purpose. Like, we invite people to do things based on our purpose, based on what we're doing. We don't always understand the other person's purpose, and what they're supposed to be doing might not fit into that. That's what I was saying. And so sometimes we need to, I'm trying to think of what it is. I was at a summit last month, and it's changing your lens. You have to be able to change your lens so that you see things in a different perspective. And I think in everything we've talked about tonight, we need to be able to change our lenses every once in a while to see things from a different perspective, to see things from the perspective of why people can't tell you no, or why people are having to make up a lie, why they can't come to church when you ask them why they didn't come to church. Like, figure out what the root cause is. Like Pastor Ed was saying, we can dance around all the things, but we don't know what the real cause is of why they're not being there, why they're not showing up, why they're lying, even in our houses, and lying to our significant others. Like, there's a reason. Like, you don't want them to get upset, or you don't want to have a night where you're fighting or something like that. We've got to be able to change our lenses every once in a while so that we're not looking at things from these unhealthy views and these unhealthy perceptions that we have, and try to put on a lens for someone else sometimes so we can understand what they're going through and what their perception is, and be able to just take the yes as a yes or the no as a no and not question those things, Mike.
I like it. And I made a mistake. Jimmy Dixon, you are more than welcome at Union Baptist Church on 1195 Hansmere Road, because I got one Sunday I need you to come. I am, as we're talking about switching our usher uniforms from white to black, I need someone to come in and have a brutal conversation about this and the feelings of this. So Jimmy Dixon, let me know when you're going to be there. I'll facilitate the whole conversation, because we need a strong mind and voice to say how that ain't the path. What would Jesus do? I mean, like, this ain't it. The black usher uniforms are not it. So I'm sorry. Pastor Ed, any final comments, sir?
Yeah, just to encourage everybody, right? Maybe this is something I shouldn't say. You could be the best church, but that doesn't mean that person's the right person for your church. You know, and I know people don't want to hear that. They feel like everybody fits and we can shove everybody in and everybody's going to work. If you're looking to come to a church with a whole lot of screaming and a whole lot, and you want that, I'm not the pastor for you, because I teach. So if you're someone who doesn't like teaching, like you're not gonna, if you're coming to expect to be jumping and flipping, you better be flipping because of the word. You're not gonna be flipping because of me yelling and screaming. So, but it's okay. Again, expectations lead to disappointment, right? So we have to recalibrate our expectations and stop expecting the world out of everybody and just expect them to be human, right? Expect them to be who they are. Listen to who they are. We don't do enough listening in church. Everybody want to tell their story, but you got to listen to hear other people's stories. And that's where you develop the trust. And I think it's with everything else. You know who you can ask that favor. I know that I can ask Everett something and he's going to do it for me. It's an honor when you have people in your lives. So that some of y'all that don't want to ask your friends for something, it's an honor as a best friend when someone who never asked me for something asks me. Like, that's the biggest honor in the world, when I can do for someone who never asked me for anything. So it's never a burden, and it's therapeutic. I could have lost my mama or lost my dad, and someone else is dealing with loss. It's therapeutic to me to be able to help a loved one. So I think we just need to keep that all in mind.
And while I'm thinking about this, and before I go to Everett for his last point, the Rock Hill, South Carolina area lost a pillar in our community, Bishop Wilson. And I talked about this a little bit at church today. No one remembers the car he drove or the fancy robes. They remember his service to others. And you see an outpouring of gratitude to his service to this community, to other ministers. So condolences to his family, as Rock Hill has lost a pillar in our community. And I know a lot of people are mourning as they prepare to bury him later on this week. Everett, any final words from you, sir?
Yeah, and as I look at the first part of our scripture focus for tonight, it tells us do not swear or to take oaths. And we're not to swear by heaven or by earth or by Jerusalem or even by your own head. And that our yes should mean yes and our no's mean no, that we don't have to add nothing else to it. And I think about the language and the culture of the day. It is so routine to hear people will proclaim something and then they'll have to add something to show that they're meaning the truth. And people say, on my mama, or I put that on my kids, or
on my hood.
Yeah. Well, why are you bringing your kids into this? Like, either it happened or it didn't happen, and then people even saying on God. And we getting so casual with language, and not that we want to be legalistic, but actually explain people what our words should mean. And that I want to have the type of character where I can say something, and the fact that I'm saying something, it implies that I'm telling the truth because of my character. But when you have to add extra things to it, that's one thing I love about Christ in his ministry. He got to the point. And I try to do that. I try to be concise, but he really got to the point. He take this huge law that was, started out as 10 commandments, ended up being 613 commandments. And by now, the law can take up a whole library. They've added so much to it. But he got straight to the point. Like, this is what it means to tell the truth. Like, yes or no. And I love the way he was so concise in his teaching. And so I really appreciate that. And I think that's something we should focus on. Is like, whatever I say, like that's just what it is, and I don't have to add a whole lot of extra to it to give me my words credibility. My words should be credible.
I want to thank everyone for watching and listening. There's a lot going on. There's been a lot of death in this area, a lot of destruction in this area, a lot of death and destruction in this country this year. With things we have not saw before, when they start talking about 1,000-year flood or, once in a lifetime event. It seems to be popping up more and more frequently. Love on each other, care about each other, show compassion. I'm very thankful for this group. I'm thankful for what we do for Higher Definition, having casual conversations. We might not all agree on everything, but that's okay. No one's feelings are hurt. And if they are, we all as grown-ups know how to circle back around and say, hey, I didn't quite mean it that way. I meant this that way, and it just came out wrong. And I think that is the true marksmanship of a man or woman, being able to have a conversation and real and earnest. So I thank Pastor Ed, I thank Fred, I thank Tia, I thank Everett for living up to that true nature and that true calling. And also being able to talk about the word of God without being squeamish about it, like without it becoming awkward. And I think that, maturing from my standpoint to be able to do that. So I'm very thankful. Thank you again for everyone who's watching. Jimmy Dixon, hey man, we need you. We need you. We need you. We need you. I'm looking forward to you, seeing you. Dr. Houston, I see you just commented. Thanks for watching. Continue to do what you do out in the community with Create and Educate. Keeping our kids safe, keeping our kids educated. And with that, I'm gonna say have a great night. And let me one final shout out to Pastor Ed. Pastor Ed, thank you for even bringing up Christmas. And I'll be making a Christmas post tonight for anybody who want to stay up and you want to know how many days left for Christmas or what it feels like. I will be sending that out shortly. Thank you, Pastor Ed, for warming my heart to even bring up Christmas. With that, I'll say be blessed, everyone. Have a safe night.
God bless.